Hey everyone, this is Innovators Mindset with Carrie Lipenholtz. There we go. Carrie. Okay, listen. Carrie is from Commack Schools, right? Commack. And listen,
Mhm.
I love Commack. And if you're listening from Commack Schools, I know Jordan, your superintendent, but so many amazing people, so I'm going to give them. Because everyone loves the shout out button. Did you hear that? Did you hear the shout out button? Did it work?
It worked. I heard it.
Okay, so Carrie, I actually just saw Carrie. We've connected before. I was in Comac, but we connected in Texas. They're doing so many amazing things. And I asked Carrie specifically to be on my podcast. I have to tell you this before. I'm like wondering if it's a Canadian thing. You're like, you don't know what I'm about to do. Do you know this song? Carrie, Carrie.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I was like wondering when I was like,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, what am I gonna do today? I'm like, oh, I have a podcast with Carrie, and like, and then hey, who sings that song? Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. I have no idea.
Okay, YouTube comment time if you know
I
who
know.
sings the song
I usually
Carrie.
get that or the thriller movie, one or the other.
Thriller movie. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? What's that? Tell
Yeah.
me about that.
There's a movie. I don't know. It's very scary.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Yeah. I
you know
usually
why?
get one or the other.
You know why I forgot about that movie? Because it traumatized me my
I
childhood.
know. I know.
Good to
Hmm.
know. Okay, there we go. We got pop culture references. Okay, well, Carrie is principal at Comac in Comac schools. What's that? What's the school you're principal at right now?
Commack High School.
Comac High School. I will tell
Very,
you,
very easy.
Comac High. I will tell you, Comac is in Long Island. Islanders go New York Islanders. Mike Boss is my favorite football hockey player of all time. I sound like Jordan right now because Jordan knows nothing about hockey. Comac is one of the most amazing places I've ever been. I think about you, all of you, all the time. And so it's just a blessing to connect with you. So I know you're principal now. Can you just tell us how you got there, some of your experience and some of the stuff that you're doing today, just as a
Sure.
brief little intro?
Yes. So actually, I actually graduated from Commack. So I
Really?
have, yeah.
That's pretty
So
cool.
I actually have been here I've been here my whole life. Took a 4-year break when I went to college. Started as a high school social studies teacher here at the high school. Taught here for 7 years. Then I was a middle school social studies teacher, became an AP at the middle school, did a quick little stint at district office, was a curriculum associate during COVID, and then has been the principal here at the high school for the past 4 years.
So,
So
okay, so why did you
did a
come back
little
though?
bit of everything.
Why'd you come back? And I know it's a pretty amazing place. Like, did you always have the intent of coming back to Comac, or is it just happen?
I was always hopeful to come back. I loved my experience here. I was very involved. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So I really hoped that I could come back and teach here one day. I loved my teachers. I loved my experience
Yeah.
and was really lucky to be able to come back and to teach here.
I don't like, listen, I actually don't blame you because I've been there and it is like everyone's really nice. I don't know if it was just me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because I mentioned I like the Islanders and I have hockey hair. I don't know what's going on, but everyone was there.
I'm very biased, but really it's an incredible place. No matter where you are, between all the elementary buildings and the middle school and the high school,
Yeah.
it really is an incredible place to be.
And so Carrie, and I think that, like that actually really matters to me what you just said because and this is part of the reason I wanted you on the podcast. I know that relationships are really fundamental to what we do in education, but I also don't like the idea. Like some people kind of talk about them like that's the end goal of education. I'm like, no, that's the foundational, to like build rapport, to really trust people when you're trying new things. But y'all are doing some really incredible stuff, and that's why I asked you on. And so there's this process, and correct me, the language if I'm using it wrong. You're doing the schools of process that you are starting next year, and I got a little taste of it when you're all in Forney, Texas, at the OC with Dr. Justin Terry and the team there. Can you tell us what that is? Because I just thought it was really fascinating, and I wanted to have you on the podcast specifically because I'm hoping people will see this and they're like, we got to do this. And so, can you tell us a little bit about that process in your schools?
Yeah, definitely. So it's our schools of study that we're introducing to our current 10th graders. We are IB school, an international baccalaureate school. So we already have different pathways for our students. So we have students that are engaging in the International Baccalaureate Career Pathway Program. So we have education, business, STEM, fine arts, and so they can engage in those career pathways. We have kids that are going half day to vocational training programs, and we have kids that are engaging in a whole bunch of internships.
Mhm.
And they may go and work with dentists. They may go to our elementary schools to learn how to become teachers. They may work with lawyers. So we do have some students that are engaging in career exploration, but it was only probably about 25% of our kids.
Mhm.
So we're thinking, okay, how do we engage now 100% of our students that are in 11th and 12th grade? And that's where we came up with the idea of creating these schools of study. So right now what we're doing is our 10th graders are engaging in interest inventories, personality inventories, and ultimately career interest inventories to really start thinking of what are their personality traits, what are their interests, and what are possibly career paths that they may be interested in. And then in May, they're going to pick one of our 8 schools of study. I don't know if I can name all of them off the top of my head, but some of them are business, law, engineering, education, vocational technical skills,
Finance.
liberal studies, finances and business.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So those 8 schools, our students are going to choose.
Yeah.
And then in 11th grade next year, will be experiences for them. So they don't have to engage in coursework that are tied to their schools of. Chances are they're going to, right? So if they are in the School of Law, they may choose to take one of our law courses. So they may be in citizen law, they may be in constitutional law, but we have a very vast course catalog. So some of our kids may want to take music or they want to take art. So they may not be able to fit it in their schedule. But what we will do is we will have programming throughout the year. So we will bring in people in the field of law, paralegals, legal secretaries, judges, lawyers, people who work in the court system. We will bring in alumni that are currently in programs or in the career field. We will bring in college admissions counselors. We will bring in people that are probably in graduate school and graduate counselors. We talked about for vocational and technical training, unions, right? For them to learn about that. So again, it's reinforcing for them what they will need, skills they will need for those careers in the future and really setting them up for success.
It's just amazing. When I was listening to you all speak in Texas, one of the things that I really thought about was so many students walk out of schools and they're more confused about what they want to do than when they entered. And it's like, hey, we're really trying to tap into their passions. I don't think if you go into the School of Law, you're like, well, if you're not, don't become a lawyer, right? Like it's kind of letting them kind of dig deeper into that, but it still opens up other opportunities there. So that's what I thought was really powerful, is that you're helping kids really kind of see what their passions are, what their strengths are. You're helping them kind of figure out some of those opportunities before going to college. And like, I don't know if this is a conversation you had, maybe they go into the School of Law and they hate it. And then they're like, listen, I don't like this. I'm not going to college for this because I'm not paying for something I know I hate. Like, is that a conversation that you've all considered?
Oh, that's definitely a conversation. So it's really, they're engaging in 11th and 12th grade. So the idea is you engage in 11th. Let's say you're like, oh, this is definitely not for me. In 12th grade, you can pick another school. So in 12th grade, you can, or let's say you're undecided, right? Let's say in 11th grade, you're like, oh, I want to learn a little bit about the School of Law, but maybe I want to go into business in 12th grade and learn about the School of Business in 12th grade. That's fine. I have so many stories. We have kids who do a dental internship, and we have a girl that went in and she's like, I never want to look at teeth ever again. So there are, we have kids that do an elementary internship. They walk into a kindergarten class and they're like, nope, this is not for me. So even though we want our kids to get experience and say, this is exactly what I want to do. It's even more powerful when they say, nope, this is not what I want to do, right? And they don't go to college or they don't enter a career and invest that time, that money. And they're making those decisions or trying it out, right? We talk about that all the time, trying it out before they're 18 or before they're out of high school. And that to us is very powerful.
Yeah, like it took me 3 years of floating through college and 3 years of student loan debt before I figured out what I wanted to do. And I would have rather done that earlier.
Yeah.
And freer.
Yeah. And as a teacher, right, I didn't get into a classroom till what, my junior year of college? What if I hated it? Then what? You know, so we're trying to give our kids that experience early enough. Again, because our whole vision is really transforming education, real life, real world experiences, for them to make the best decision to prepare them for their future.
It's just amazing. I know that one of the questions people are going to have while they're listening to this, as much as I'm like excited about it, can't be 100% buy-in from your staff. Like, how did you get people, like, what were some of the concerns people had? Maybe not just your staff, maybe, you know, your community. Was there any concerns about trying something like this? Because it is very different from, you know, what you see in a lot of schools.
So I think a lot of it was more of what it was going to look like in a student's day. And it doesn't change their day at all. Because they still are required, obviously, to take all the classes, right, that they're required to take as a junior and a senior. It just changes your thought. So it changes your thought process. What we saw already when we took a look at kids' schedule, if you had a conversation with a kid and a kid said, well, I think I want to become a physical therapist when I grew up, they were already taking those classes. So a kid who wanted to become a physical therapist was already taking college health professionals. But now what we're saying to them is, all right, you want to become a physical therapist. Now you're going to enroll in our School of Medicine, and we're going to be creating these programs during the school day for you. That was one of those questions. When is this happening, right? What is this going to look like? We're creating these programs for you during the school day. We're bringing these professionals in. We're bringing in people from college. We're bringing in alumni for you to learn more about it, to make sure that this is the possible career path that you want to take. So that was, what impact is this going to have on my teaching? It's not. It's our courses. We didn't change our courses. We didn't change our way of teaching any of our courses. We just thought about it differently. The other thing that we did was we even took a look at our core courses, like biology, right? So we took a look, and that's what we're doing right now, is we're looking at our course guide, and we're looking at where does biology, a course that every kid has to take in order to graduate, where does that fall in our schools of? Well, it falls in the School of Medicine. It could fall in the School of Liberal Studies, right? So we're even taking our core subjects that you need for graduation, and we're putting it into our schools of study. So we're explicitly showing our kids that all of your courses matter for your future.
This is literally, I wrote a book called Innovate Inside the Box, and this is the exemplification of it, right? Because, you know, a lot of people are like, how do you do this? Like, you know, how could a public school system do something like this? And you're like, hey, like, it's just thinking differently, but we still have certain constraints that we have to follow to ensure kids graduate. There's going to be New York State high school requirements. One of the things I really have thought about as we're talking is this is a really amazing opportunity for your students. What was really powerful, your presentation skills and your team's like your storytelling was amazing. So as I'm listening to you too, because sometimes we have these great ideas, but we can't really convey them. And I was like listening to you, I was like, oh, this is incredible. And it was just, I got more and more excited about it. One of the things that I noticed is and this is me, something I'm really passionate about, is I really think kids have to have not just financial literacy, but financial fluency skills, that they actually know how to invest money. Think about that. The earlier you do it, the better, right? The longer term, right? Power of compound interest Can you talk a little bit about the School of Business and some of the finance stuff that you're doing? Because that's what like that was. It was funny because that's what got me interested in it, but I didn't really realize the scope of all this stuff in what you're doing until I started exploring it a little bit more.
Yeah. So the School of Business actually goes beyond what the students who are enrolled in the School of Business is going to do, which is actually very exciting. We opened a Bloomberg lab at the beginning of the year in September. We were very lucky to be able to visit 2 years ago Bloomberg headquarters in New York City to be able to learn about some of the education and the educational foundations that Bloomberg provides. So we were able to do a tour of the headquarters. And then from that point on, we just said, we have to be able to do this for our students. We have a course in ninth grade called Career and Financial Management, which does the foundational career and financial literacy skills. So we already teach financial literacy to our ninth graders. But we strongly believe here in real life, real world experiences. So we've built, for example, we built a mock courtroom. And we have, yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So our next step was to take what we are doing both in ninth grade and then of course in our economics class in 12th grade and take it a step further to grow our financial literacy curriculum. So we opened a Bloomberg lab in September, which actually looks like you would see in any major financial firm. We have 30 Bloomberg terminals. We have a ticker going across our room. So we have our ninth graders right now pushing in and learning and doing a project on if they were gifted when they were born a stock, all right? Let's say they were gifted a Nike stock. They needed to see the historical trend of that stock, and they're currently 14 years old. And they needed to decide, was that a good investment, like their grandma made, right? Was that a good investment? And what they predict will happen when they graduate to that stock. So those are our ninth graders already learning, looking at historical data on stock prices and what has influenced stock prices from the time they were born up until now, and then 4 years from now when they graduate. Our 12th graders have taken a step further. Every 12th grader is pushing in, even though they do, again, foundations of financial literacy. We've taken a step further. They're building an actual investment portfolio in the Bloomberg lab. They've picked 5 businesses to invest in. They get $10,000 and they build a portfolio. So every day they
not real $10,000.
No. And they take a look at the news. Yeah. It's really incredible. And they look every day for 2 weeks. And then they go back to class and they do a presentation on what they learned, their return on investment, and what factors influence their decision. And it's pretty amazing and incredible what they learned and how many of them, go home and tell their parents they want Robinhood accounts, and how many of them even say, like, I knew I wanted to do business, but I didn't realize I wanted to do the finance or the corporate finance, right, side of it. So in economics in 12th grade, we always did like a mock Wall Street, Wall Street challenge. But this, can you imagine being on a Bloomberg terminal now and doing it? It's just taken it such a step further for our kids, and really making them, financially fluent now. They're having these conversations. They're on the scene.
George Couros asterisk.
Yeah, exactly.
George Couros.
Right. They're taking that step further, and we're happy that next year we're going to do an elective on Introduction to Bloomberg Corporate Finance, in addition to the push-ins. So every kid has exposure to it, which is absolutely incredible.
It's fine. So I was sitting there and I had brought out someone I'm mentoring, and he's, I think, 26, 27 years old. He was doing video and he's recording you, and I'm watching him and he's like livid because he's like, why didn't I learn this in school? Right? Because he actually went, it's funny because he actually went to a school of business, and the stuff you're talking about, he didn't even explore. And it is just amazing. And even one of the conversations that you and I had is like, it's like, geez, I wish I would have known the stuff that we're teaching these kids right now, because I would have been so much better off at a younger age.
I know.
Too.
I joke. I have to like sit in a senior class. Like I want to learn some of the things they're learning. They're talking to me,
Right.
and I need to learn some of these things.
I love it. Hey, Carrie, I know, first of all, Carrie and I like talk for like 45 minutes before we even record the podcast. So I really want to thank you for your time. I just am I'm so impressed with you all in Commack schools, the stuff that you do, how you connect really to understand the people you serve, the really family environment that you've built there, but really also visionary. And that to me is something that really matters, is like, how do you build that kind of family restaurant feel that I grew up in, but also do incredible things for kids that you as teachers should be a little bit jealous of, that you're like, I wish we would have done this when I was in school. And so it's really cool to see that you actually come back to the school that you went to create this with your team. And so I just want to give a shout out to your staff, because like everyone there is just so amazing, and it's pretty cool stuff you're doing. So Carrie,
I'm very lucky.
You are I'm going to tell you, you're very lucky. And I was very lucky to join you all. So it's pretty visionary stuff. I know if you want to connect with Carrie, learn more about this, check out the links down below. Carrie will answer all your questions all the time.
Always.
Because she's got nothing else to do. Right? Whatever. I'm just kidding. So I really appreciate your time. So all the best to you and your school. I can't wait to come back and visit, see all this incredible stuff that you're doing too. So everyone, thanks for listening. Carrie, thanks so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day.